What are the most effective substitutes for parchment paper when working with perler beads?
Hello there, craft enthusiasts. Today, we're delving into the colorful world of perler beads. More specifically, we're discussing the best substitutes for parchment paper when you're working with these tiny plastic beads. If you're caught without parchment paper mid-project, don't worry. There are effective alternatives that can do the trick. The key is to find a material that can withstand the heat of the iron without sticking to the beads.
Why use a substitute for parchment paper?
Firstly, let's clarify why we might need a substitute for parchment paper. While parchment paper is the typical go-to for perler bead crafts because it can handle the heat from an iron and won't stick to the beads, there are moments when we run out or just don't have any on hand. In these cases, knowing some reliable alternatives can save your project and keep the creative flow going.
Ironing paper.
Ironing paper is a fantastic substitute for parchment paper. It's designed specifically for heat transfer activities, which includes perler bead ironing. It's often included in perler bead kits, so you may already have some in your craft supplies. Just like parchment paper, ironing paper is reusable and won't stick to your beads, so it's a great option if you have it.
Baking paper.
Next up is baking paper. It is very similar to parchment paper and can withstand the heat of the iron. While baking paper isn't designed specifically for crafts, it can get the job done in a pinch. It won't stick to your beads and will provide a smooth surface for ironing.
Wax paper.
Wax paper is a bit more tricky, but it can be used in certain situations. It's important to use it with caution, though, as it can melt when exposed to high heat. If you decide to use wax paper, use a lower heat setting on your iron and monitor it closely to avoid any mishaps. There you have it, some effective parchment paper substitutes for your perler bead projects. Whether you opt for ironing paper, baking paper, or, carefully, wax paper, you can continue crafting even when parchment paper is scarce. Remember, the key is to use a material that can handle the heat without sticking to the beads. Happy crafting, and we hope this video has been helpful in keeping your creative process flowing.